Ay, 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 ay,
Ay, ay, ay, ay, ay, ay, ay, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay,
Shalom Aleichem.
Why don't you come and join me up here singing Shalom Aleichem? Ay, 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 Malachei Elyon, Mimelech Malchei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Come on, up, up, up. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat
Welcome
Shalom.
to those of you who are here in person, those of you who are joining us on Zoom or on YouTube. It's great to welcome you all here this Shabbat. And just take a moment. I've been rushing all day today, so I don't know. Probably I'm not the only one. So this is the moment of like just to arrive, to take a moment, to take a few deep breaths, to recognize how blessed we are to be in community, to recognize the blessing of Shabbat. What a gift. It's really a gift. Just, it's like, this morning it's like, okay, I have to make it. I have to make it. Shabbos is coming. And you know what? Shabbat is here. It always arrives. No matter how rushed we are, it always arrives. Sometimes we are late for it, but Shabbat is waiting. See how Shabbat is always, I tell my kids when we are late for candle lighting, it's like, Shabbat has been knocking on the door for a while. We need to let the guests come in. And then we let the guests come in. So it's good to be here. So let's take a moment, a few deep breaths in and out. Looking at the Shabbat candles, recognizing in the light of the candles, symbol of blessing in times of darkness. This is our first Shabbat that started this early. This always happens. It's like, oh, right, Shabbat starts an hour early. And candles remind us that even when it gets really dark, there's light. We can find light, we can create light, we can bring light, we can bless others with light, we can be blessed with light by others. And we are blessed by the light of Shabbat. So we take 3 times from the light of the Shabbat candles as we get ready for this moment. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation. Holy One of blessing.
Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. Your presence fills creation.
Your presence fills creation. We take 3 times from the light of the Shabbat candles and we say the bracha, the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר, להדליק נר של Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Let's
Shabbat
greet each
Shalom.
other with Shabbat Shalom. Make sure to greet someone you don't know. I also encourage you to sit close. Shabbat Shalom, welcome.
Ay, 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 ay.
Shabbat Shalom, I'm Sarah. Nice to
Shabbat
meet
Shalom.
you.
Ay, ay, ay.
Nice to meet you.
Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 Welcome again. It's great to be with you. We begin on page 2, bringing it in Shabbat. Higal lena ufros chavivi alai. Please, God, reveal yourself to us. Higal lena ufros chavivi alai. And spread over us your love. Just need to feel loved by you. Page 2, the last stanza, last paragraph, first line of the last paragraph on page 2.
Higale, gale, gale. Ufros habibi alai. Shalom.
And it is our practice, as you know, for Kabbalat Shabbat, or some of you know for Kabbalat Shabbat, is to take a little time to transition from the week to Shabbat by going through our week. We have 6 Psalms of Shabbat, each Psalm for each day. And it is an opportunity to lift up from each day a moment of gratitude, a moment of blessing. It's not an opportunity to go through all our week and try to remember everything we did. The opposite. It's not about what we did. It's not about the doing, but it's about the gratitude and about the blessing. So to lift up from each day, just one thing. It could be a smell. It could be a taste. It could be a sound. It could be a conversation. It could be a flower. It could be something little. It can be something really big too. That feels like it's a blessing. And if you don't remember exactly which day what, that's fine too. The purpose of the practice is to lift up gratitude from this week and bring it in together to Shabbat. And as we do that, we let go all the rest. Just like, no, you don't have to go like, I did this, I didn't do this, I wasn't so good at that. Leave out judgment, leave out criticism, leave out success too. It's not about doing, but it's about being. So let's take a moment for going back to Sunday, to last Sunday, to Yom Rishon. Lift up a moment of gratitude from last Sunday, from Yom Rishon. Page 3.
וכו נרננה לאדוני נריע לצור אישנו נקדמה פניו
Yom Sheni, Monday. Page 5, Psalm 96. We'll be singing the whole psalm. It's a lot of Hebrew. There is transliteration facing the words in Hebrew. But if even reading the transliteration is complicated or hard, just join with the tune. Ay, 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 nay, 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 oy, oy, oy. Just lift up joy and the spirit as we sing Psalm 96. It's about a new song. What's your new song today? Page 5.
שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, מסרו מיום ליום ישועתו. ירחבו לאדוני בהדרת קודש צילו מפניו כל הארץ אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך עתיקות תבל ואל תימות ידינמים במישרים ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ איי 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 ירמיהו ומלוכו יעלו שדי כל אשר בו איי 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 אז ירננו כל הצייר לפני אדוני כי בא לשפוט הארץ לשפוט תבל וצדק ועמים באמונתו לה 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 לה
Yom Shlishi, Tuesday.
יום שלישי
If you don't remember, that was election day. And
היי
thank God for question 4 for safer roads and more justice in our state. Amen.
אמן
Yay.
אמן
So let's take a moment for Tuesday. Page 6, Psalm 97.
היי 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 דה 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 דה
Revi'i Wednesday. Page 8, Psalm 98.
Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino 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 bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechino bechol zimra Zamru l'Adonai bechino bechino bechol zimra
Yom Hamishi, Thursday, yesterday. Page 9, Psalm 99.
רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו רוממו אדוני אלוהינו וישתחוו להר קודשו.
Yom Shishi, Friday, today, lifting up something from today, moment of gratitude, this day. Page 10, Psalm 29.
Adonai Oz, Le'amo yiten Adonai, Yevarech et amo. Adonai Oz, Le'amo yiten Adonai, Yevarech et amo.
welcome Shabbat in and we welcome Shabbat out. Practice is to go outside for the last dance of Kabbalat Shabbat, as the traditional practice of going out to bring Shabbat in. And we love the idea, TVZ, not only of bringing Shabbat into this space, to our homes, but also to bring Shabbat out to the world. Because if the practices of Shabbat and the teachings of Shabbat and what Shabbat gives us as a gift only stays in closed spaces and it doesn't come to the public sphere and to the world and to our actions, then it's nice, it's good, but it's not enough. So it's about bringing Shabbat in and bringing Shabbat out. So as in our practice for the last danza is where we go outside for Boi V'Shalom, and I invite you to go out. Those of you at home, we won't be bringing today a computer outside, so you'll can go out to your homes, maybe show your own windows to people and join, and we will be back. And now I have a repeating joke by now. I already did it 3 times, so now I have to do it every time. If we don't come back, it's because Mashiach arrived. And then you should go out and find Mashiach too. I have a feeling we will be back tonight. But
You
jinxed
jinxed
never
it. You
know.
jinxed it. You jinxed it.
I just jinxed it? Oh, okay. I should not jinx it. Elechad Odi on page 12.
Echad Odi,
Echad Odi,
Ligat Kala,
Ligat Kala,
Pene Shabbat,
Pene Shabbat,
Nekavela. Echad Odi,
Echad Odi,
Ligat Kala,
Ligat Kala,
Pene Shabbat,
Pene Shabbat,
Nekavela. Shamor v'zachor, b'zimur echad, ishmi'anu el Adonai, Alayich Nigla, Lecha Dodi, Likat Kala, Penei Shabbat, Nekabela, Lecha Dodi, Likat Kala, Penei Shabbat, Nekabela. Ay, 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 ay.
Alay, alay, ay, ay, alay, ay, alay, alay, alay,
Ay, ay,
ay, alay, ay, alay, alay, ay, 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 alay, alay, alay,
ay, 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 Lecha Dodi. Ay, 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 Likat Kala. Ay, 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 Penei Shabbat. Ay, 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 Nekabela. Ay, lo
תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשכחי ומה תהמי, ויחסו עניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר אל תירא. איי 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 לך דודי, איי 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 לקראת כלה,
ay, 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 Penei Shabbat. Ay, ay, ay,
נקבלה.
ay, והיו למשיסה שעושייך
ורחקו
כל עלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך, כי צעוז לב באהבה. איי, 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 לך דודי. איי, 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 לקראת כלה. איי, 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 בני שבת. איי, 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 נקבלה.
ימין ושמאל תפרוצי, ואת אדוני תעריצי. על ידי פן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. איי 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 לך דודי,
איי, 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 לקראת כלה. איי, 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 בני שבת. איי, 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 נקבלה. איי, 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 לך דודי.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
It is the day of Shabbat, Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, Psalm 92, page 15. It is good to be grateful. We practice gratitude. Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbat, page 15.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמך עליון.
והגיד
בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. והגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות.
Page 16, Psalm 93.
עדותיך נהנו מאוד, לבך נאווה קודש. עדותיך נהנו מאוד, לבך נאווה קודש. אדוני
לאורך ימים.
אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני לאורך
ימים.
אדוני לאורך ימים.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome
Shabbat
again
shalom.
to all of you, you joining on in person here, those of you joining on Zoom, those of you joining on YouTube. It's great we can bring you all together for this Shabbat. And this is a special Shabbat. It's a Shabbat, every Shabbat is special, but we are making a dedication especially to this Shabbat in honor of Rabbis Against Gun Violence Shabbat that many communities across the country are dedicating to the Parshat Vayera, where we read about Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son. We question our willingness to continue sacrificing our children to gun violence. And for that, we are honored to welcome Ruth Zacharin to our community today to tell us a little bit about the work that we need to do to stop sacrificing our children to gun violence. And Ruth Zacharin is Executive Director of Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. Ruth spent over 20 years working with youth and adults impacted by domestic and sexual violence before becoming the inaugural Executive Director of the coalition in May of 2019. Ruth has her MSW from the University of Pennsylvania, and is also trained as a community organizer. She's particularly interested in creating models of trauma-informed advocacy and our policy making. And outside of her coalition work, Ruth is very involved in local interfaith organizing. She's an avid knitter and foodie, and is proud mom of two incredible young adults. One of them I had a chance to connect in many opportunities. And we are excited to welcome Ruth to TBZ, not for the first time, and to have her here share with us her words and her teaching. And I'll say this again after, but I'll say it a few times. If you are not yet involved in our work at TBZ of gun violence prevention and you would like to get involved, and there's many opportunities, we invite you. This is an opportunity, hopefully, to inspire you to do that work, and we want you to let us know. And you can either let know Judy Schachman. Judy, raise your hand. She is the chair of our Gun Violence Prevention Action Group. And if you don't get to talk to Judy tonight, you can let me know, and I will connect you with Judy for sure. And her email also has been in every mention of this event tonight. So we're hoping this is for us to learn, to get inspired, but hopefully also to move into action after today more. Ruth.
I love the box. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's really lovely to be with you this Shabbat. As a member of the Jewish community, as someone in the work of gun violence prevention, being able to come to Shul to talk about this issue I care so much about is really meaningful for me. So I thank Rav Claudia and Judy for the opportunity to do this. And I also have regards from my daughter for you. So it's also just a special moment for me to be making all of these connections and to be with some old friends and some new friends. So thank you. Again, my name is Ruth Zachra, and I'm always proud to say that I am the executive director of the Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. And in this moment on Shabbat Vayera, I've always wondered, there's so much content in this parsha. I always wondered how rabbis pick just one thing to focus on, because there's so much. But of course, that moment of the Akedah, where Isaac is about to be sacrificed, and there's a commandment not to do that, not to sacrifice this child, because that is not the way that we worship God, that we hold God holy, is a really defining moment. And it's something that I carry with me because for me, a core value of the work of gun violence prevention is that children have a right to be safe. They have a right to be safe at school. They have a right to be safe walking home from school. And they have a right to be safe playing in their neighborhoods, whatever neighborhood that might be, after school. And so that connection, that moment of this is, do not harm this child, I think is a really powerful one. And I think that's what grounds us in this conversation about what we do to prevent gun violence here in the Commonwealth, but also across the country. So I just want to share a little bit about what we mean when we talk about the issue of gun violence. I also want to share a little bit about the work of the coalition. And then I want to finish by just spending a few moments talking about where we are in this moment in time, here in the Commonwealth and here in our country. So a bit first about what we mean when we talk about gun violence, because gun violence is actually many different issues, all rolled up into one very large term. And the gun violence, and you tend to hear about them most in the media and the public conversation, would be mass shootings that happen in public spaces. And there's a lot to say around how we define that. Historically, mass shootings have been defined as any shooting where 4 or more people are killed in a single incident. Most of us have adopted a broader definition where there are 4 or more injured. And with that broader definition, we actually see that mass shootings are happening in communities all the time. And in fact, in 2022, we've had more mass shootings than we've had days of the year. And that's a real call to action right there. So we have those kinds of shootings. We also have the shootings that happen more in the context of interpersonal relationships, both domestic violence homicides, which is how I come to this work, as well as violence that happens between people that know each other, community-based violence. And that actually accounts for a very large number of deaths from gun violence, but we don't tend to hear about those deaths as much in the news. There's a lot to unpack with that. I'd love to have a longer conversation about that as well. In addition to those deaths, there's unintentional shootings. Someone leaves a gun loaded, unattended, a child picks it up, and something bad happens. There are the shootings that happen in the context of police violence, because police violence is gun violence. And we know that that has been happening. It's gotten a little bit more attention from the news, but it's been happening for decades and years in our country. And it's something that we really need to reckon with. The largest number of deaths from guns are actually firearm suicides. And that is also an important thing for us to touch on, because as we are dealing with a mental health crisis in this country, as we have seen the sales of guns spike during the pandemic, we have a lot of work to do to make sure that folks are safe from guns, not just in terms of the violence that we see in communities, in public spaces, but also their own level of crisis and easy access to guns. I would also suggest that gun violence is about more than the losses and the number of people who have died. That is incredibly traumatic, but there's a bigger piece, which is the folks who are shot, wounded, but survive. They survive with the trauma of gun violence. There's a trauma of witnessing a shooting or living in a community where gun violence is happening frequently, of being threatened with a gun. And there's also a trauma that we're experiencing in this country of guns that are used ever more frequently in our political discourse to harm marginalized communities. And of course, as a Jewish community, and thinking about gun violence as it intersects with the issue of anti-Semitism, hate, and white supremacy. So I say all that, and I know it sounds a little overwhelming. There are things that we can do about all of those pieces, which I'll touch on, but gun violence is an incredibly complex issue, and one that will take a complex set of responses in order for us to make a difference and to prevent the trauma of gun violence, which is a good segue for me to talk about our work at the Coalition. The Massachusetts Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence was founded almost 10 years ago in the immediate aftermath of the shooting at Sandy Hook. And it was a group of folks who came together who wanted to make change at the Massachusetts State House and strengthen our laws to prevent such a thing from happening here in Massachusetts. And I just want to shout out Rachie, who's here with us, who's involved with the Coalition from pretty much moment one. So if you'd like to know more of the history of the Coalition, I would encourage you to approach Rachie after Shul to get more of that information. But that group of volunteers came together wanting to make change and was very instrumental in advocating for the passage of the 2014 Comprehensive Gun Bill, which has structured a lot of how we think about licensing and access to guns in the Commonwealth now. It was a humongous, tremendous piece of work. And over the years, of course, gun violence continued. The Coalition was involved in advocating for the Extreme Risk Protection Order Bill of 2018. If you're not familiar with Extreme Risk Protection Orders, we call them ERPOs. In the public conversation, they're also referred to as red flag laws, and they provide an opportunity for guns to be temporarily removed when someone is at risk of harming themselves or someone else. And since then, the Coalition has grown. A lot of organizations wanted to join, and we at the Coalition was able to get a grant to start hiring staff, which is when I came on the scene. We are now a mighty staff of 3. We're huge, but we have almost 130 member organizations, including TBZ. And it's also very meaningful for me as a member of the Jewish community in this work to see my Jewish community showing up for the work of the Coalition. I appreciate that. And since we have grown to have full-time staff, we have really clarified our mission and our vision and how we approach the work of gun violence prevention. We see gun violence as a public health issue that is driven by racial and economic disparity, that requires a holistic response, that is policy change, that is sustained investment in community-based solutions, that is lifting up data and research. And to that end, we divide our work into 4 main areas. One being advocacy. We still do a great deal of work at the State House to strengthen our laws to protect us from gun violence in a number of ways, including bills about the guns themselves, but also bills about the intersection of trauma and gun violence to get at some of those root causes. and the way that our criminal legal system intersects with violence prevention. Because we know that if our criminal legal system is not working or is in fact causing harm, particularly in certain communities, that's going to get in the way of meaningful action on violence prevention. We do a lot of budget advocacy as well. We led a large coalition to advocate for the allocation of money through the American Rescue Plan Act for violence prevention, and we were successful at getting a $50 million allocation for gun violence prevention, youth jobs, and reentry. And in the economic bill that was just signed by the governor yesterday, hot off the presses, there was an additional $15 million for gun violence prevention. And we're very proud of that work because we know that we need to invest in communities most impacted, in community-based solutions if we're going to make change. Another pillar of our work is education. It's conversations like this. We have also been partnering with the folks who made the documentary, This Ain't Normal. Judy and I believe Jenny and some other folks might have been there. This past Wednesday we did a screening where we show clips from the movie, have a panel discussion about root causes of youth violence and what we can do to make change for the young people most impacted by gun violence. The third pillar of our work is coalition building. I mentioned we have a lot of member organizations. It's bringing folks together to speak in a unified voice. And our leadership team is now very representative of our member organizations, folks who are survivors, people who are frontline workers, other people from impacted communities. And the last pillar of our work is community organizing. We have a full-time organizer who's working in Boston, Brockton, Springfield, some other communities as well, so that we can make sure the voices of folks most impacted by gun violence and youth are directing all aspects of our work. And that is our approach to the issue of gun violence prevention. While we have strong laws in Massachusetts, especially compared to most states, and certainly stronger than what we have on the federal level, we still have gun violence and a tremendous amount of it. You may be aware, if you've been hearing local news, that October and November so far have been very traumatic months. There were 7 deaths from gun violence in Boston in October, and we've had 3 already in November. In addition, we've had shootings in New Bedford and Brockton, Melrose, Taunton, Springfield, and those are the ones that I am aware of. So even though our laws are strong, we have a great deal more work to do. And we know that a big part of that work is to make sure that we are focusing on the communities that have been most impacted by gun violence, by the pandemic, by structural racism, because chronic disinvestment in communities is part of what allows violence to thrive. So we have to reverse that. We have to push against that. And we see that as being part of our charge. So our work moving forward is to continue to address laws that specifically address the guns themselves as well as root causes. At the end of the last legislative session, that coincided with a decision from the Supreme Court in the Bruin case that looked at licensing laws in New York, but it affected how our licensing laws work here in Massachusetts as well. And we were very involved in the advocacy that happened around what changes needed to be made or tweaked in our laws to keep them as strong as possible. But at the end of the legislative session, we were told by State House leaders that they would be taking up a comprehensive gun bill at the beginning of this next session, and we plan to hold them accountable to that. So we are already in conversations with leaders of the State House about what that bill needs to look like. We are really emphasizing the importance of data and understanding really how guns and gun violence is impacting different communities in the Commonwealth, so we can use data to make good policy. And we're also very focused on the issue of ghost guns, which, oversimplifying it, but ghost guns are guns that are created from kits that you can get from the mail. They don't have a serial number, so they're untraceable, and therefore a ghost gun. So those are the things that we are looking at in the next session, as well as continuing to address the intersection of juvenile justice reform in particular and gun violence prevention. And we're also looking into how do we make more opportunities for safe housing for people impacted by gun violence, because you cannot be safe unless you have a safe place to lay your head. So we see that as being a big part of our work moving forward, as well as using what we're doing here in Massachusetts as a model for other states and for the country. Because while we have strong laws here in Massachusetts, neighboring states that do not have strong laws, their guns are threatening the safety of our residents. We know that many of the guns that are being used in incidents of violence here are coming from out of state, because we don't live in a bubble. So we also want to up our ante in the work that we're doing to fuss at other states to do something different, and to also say to our federal government, we need to be doing more. If you're interested in getting involved, please do see Judy. She and I are in contact regularly around our work. I've been telling her about how we're teeing things up for the next legislative session. We will be needing to do what I refer to as banging our pots in front of the State House to make sure that this comprehensive gun bill that we have been promised actually happens, and to also make sure that our State House leaders continue to invest in communities most impacted, continue to look at juvenile justice reform, continue to look at trauma and how we can respond to that, and continue to have a holistic response to the issue of gun violence so that every child and every person in every zip code can live free from the threat of gun violence. Shabbat Shalom.
So grateful to Ruth for her words and for inspiring us. And I think for a moment of the reminder on her words at the beginning as we started, it's like some people will come and ask, so why are you having a speaker to talk about gun violence on Kabbalat Shabbat? Like, we came here to feel Shabbat, to sing, to feel good. No, that's not what we came here for. We came here to pray, to connect to the divine presence, to connect to something that is bigger than us, and to recognize what are our responsibilities in the world. And that's what we are here. If it feels good, great. But if it doesn't push us to do a little bit more, then as I said before on Lecha Dodi, then it's just beautiful singing. We want to do more than just that. We want to really build a world from love with love, a world where the divine presence can live in it, a world that is safe. And we hope and we know that our tradition demands from us that. It doesn't just inspire us to that. And I love the connection. It's a difficult connection to this week parasha. But it's that moment where God says to Abraham, do not kill your son. And that is what God is telling us. You need to stop killing your sons, your daughters, your children. And the fact that we are not physically doing it like Abraham was about to do it doesn't mean we're not doing it. So this is a reminder of our commitment. And if you want to act through TBZ, talk to Judy either after services or send her an email. Her email is in all the information we had about this Shabbat. And if you can't find Judy's contact me or contact the office, and they will give you Judy's contact information. Thank you again, Ruth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And we turn now to the evening service to Marev. If you are able to rise, please do so in page 19 in your Siddur. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Ba'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Ba'ed. You may be seated.
Umavir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uven laila Adonai tzevahot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam ba'ed Baruch ata Adonai Hamari v'aravi.
Amen. Page 20.
We are love.
Love, love. We are love, 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 by unending love, unending love. We are love, 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 by unending love, unending love.
כי הם חיינו באורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע
Israel, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Echad.
We read silently the paragraphs of the Shema on page 21 to 23. There's also interpretations to the Shema on page 24.
Adonai Elohechem,
Amen. Page 25. ומלכותו ורצון קיבלו עליהם. מרים ובני ישראל לכנו שירה, בשמחה רבה אמרו כולם.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אל
למלכותך ראו בניך בוקעם לפני משה, זה עליינו ואמרו,
אדוני ימלוך לעולם בארץ.
ונאמר כיפת אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו. Page 26.
ופרוס עלינו שלומך
ברוך אתה אדוני הפורס וגד שלום עלינו, על כל עמו ישראל אל ירושלים, ועל כל העולם. Rise as you are able, if you are able, page 27. ושמרו בני ישראל את לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפל. Chatzi Kaddish on page 28, we have the practice of inviting you, encouraging you to find a different place to stand during the Amidah, the silent meditation. We have our faith quilts of Chesed on my right, loving kindness, Gvura on my left, boundary, strength. Do you need to tap into more Chesed this week? Do you need to tap into more Gvura this week? And if you want to face Yerushalayim east, that's towards the windows on the right. If you want to go outside, you can go outside. Find a different place, a place that inspires you at this moment. Page 28. Also at home, I invite you to move to a place, a space where you feel you can connect, you can ground yourself. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה,
אמן.
וילמד דברה חירותה וימליך מלכותה,
וחייכון וביומכון וחיי דכו בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יש מרב המברך לעולם ולעלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמד קודשה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה בנחמתה דמירם בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
The Amidah begins on page 29 and concludes on page 39. You can do the words of the Amidah or use this time for your own silent meditation of your heart. The music, the words are from, the Hebrew words are from Psalm, but the music of this song that we sing often is from Rabbi Menachem Creditor, who is the organizer of rabbis for gun violence prevention, and his leadership has led us, many rabbis, to get involved in this work. And he's in New York, and he's a good friend of Ruth, and it's great to remind ourselves that faith leaders and rabbis get involved in this work. If you're able to rise for Aleinu, please do so, page 44. Aleinu
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו גויי הארצות, ולא שמנו עם משפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו עמהם, וגורלנו עם כל העולם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
אחד. You may be seated. We want to extend our condolences to Barbara Siegel and Howard Brown on the death of Barbara's father, Alvin Siegel, and also to Sandra Turing on the passing of her husband, Richard Joseph. We send them our condolences. This week we will commemorate the yahrzeit of Gerald Elovitz, David Joseph Fox, Sidney Halberger, Leon Jacobson, Elizabeth Kirchner, Louis Krieger, Deborah Kaminsky, Morgan Besser, Ethel Pekarovsky, George Rodenstein, Helen Schechter, Betty Seacole, Frank Shostak, Helen Siwarski, Giselle Ayala Unger, Iris Wilkes, Helen Ita Bernstein, Frida Bloom, Harry Karp, Jacob Gamer, Libby Heller, Jacob Lindman, Bessie Misner, Ida Gilman Siegel, Miriam Wishna, Jacob Wishna, and Morton Wishna. I also want to lift up the memory of those veterans that lost their life fighting for this country, and I know many of you have family members, and today on Veterans Days, we lift up their memories, as we said at Mourner's Kaddish. Page 48, Kaddish Shalom, Mourner's Kaddish. If you are mourning, commemorating a Yortzeit, or your custom is to say Kaddish, please rise, page 48. Itgadal ve'itgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirteh ve'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon uvyamechon uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv ve'imru amen, Yeheh shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulalmei almaya, yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitromam ve'yitnaseh, ve'yitadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram ve'alma ve'imru amen. Yeheh shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, u'yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru amen. You may be seated. A few announcements before we conclude, just a few things. Next Shabbat is Shabbat Nariya, our once a month music. Every Shabbat is musical Shabbat, but even more, and that brings more people, and in sponsoring with Kavod, so I hope you join us. And now we have reinstituted the potluck on Shabbat Nariya, so stay for the potluck, bring something for the potluck, and then stay for the potluck. So that's next Friday, Shabbat Nariya. On November 17, that's Thursday, we're having TBZ Decarbonize Your Home event with Matters Out Front. So if you want to be part of that work with our climate action group, please check. And on November 20th, we're having our new members breakfast. We have many new members have joined our community, and if you are one of them, we invite you to our new members breakfast on November 20th at 10 a.m. here. Please RSVP, so we have enough breakfast for everybody. We already have a pretty long RSVP, so it's wonderful. Last but not least, as always, every year, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we do a Thanksgiving worship service, an interfaith Thanksgiving worship service co-sponsored by the Brooklyn Clergy Association, which I am one of the co-conveners. And this year, the service is going to be at the Church of Our Savior on 25 Monmouth South Street in Brookline. And all the clergy from Brookline participates, and it's an opportunity also to support the Brookline Pantry that day. So I hope you join us for us. It's 1 hour of interfaith gathering in honor of Thanksgiving. There is much more going on. One thing I saw just before Shabbat, the program on Sunday, Colliding Dreams, was postponed for now. So if you're planning to join us that at 2 o'clock on Sunday, that has been postponed. And we will let you know as soon as we have the new event and the new day. And last but not least, it's so exciting now. We have our Mazel Tov emails that come on Friday, and the list is growing every Shabbat, and we have so many Mazel Tovs, people publishing new books, getting prizes, getting grandchildren getting married, celebrating wedding anniversaries. I thought I would read it every week when it was 3 things, but this week was like 6 or 7, and we already got 3 for next week. But it's so exciting. There is so many reasons to celebrate. So if you have a reason to celebrate in community, send it to mazeltov@tbzbrooklyn.org, and it will be sent to all our community on Fridays. Tomorrow, Shabbat services at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Torah study. Rabbi Sam is teaching tomorrow, 10 a.m. We are having the bat mitzvah of Emma Asel Green, It's very exciting because I remember Emma's baby naming downstairs in the community room, and it's just so exciting that, and 13 years later, here we are doing this. So we'll be celebrating her bat mitzvah, and it's going to be a great celebration in community. Our practice on Friday nights is to bless each other and to invite you all to come closer. And then after we finish, to come outside, we have some snacks, and now we have also challah. So we'll bring the challah out for people to share. Please come and connect.
I also wanted to say, Judy came up to me before and reminded me this is your first time back in the shul since the beginning of COVID.
Oh my
so
goodness.
So special to have Judy and Ed back in person.
No, you guys were here for almost bat mitzvah. Friday night.
Okay,
Oh,
for
because
Friday
you were
night.
standing there, but welcome.
Okay. Glad you're back. Okay, well.
Anyway, it's good to have
so good
Ed
you're
and
here.
Judy here. And anyone that is here for the first time, who is here for the first time at TBZ? Welcome, welcome. So great to have you here, guys. Sabri Chavara.
L'chaim.
Sabri Chavara.
L'chaim.
Is it your first time at TBZ? No. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam boreh v'riah ha'afel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu b'shabbat kodsho v'yava v'ratzon inchilanu zikano l'maaseh b'reishit ki hu yom techila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, ותנו קידשת, עם כל העמים, ושבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת.
L'chaim.
You can have it all. We connect to the challah or to someone connected to the challah. Everybody, let's connect. Connect Renee, and the people at home, if you have your chalot, also connect to this challah, to your challah. And gratitude to Rav Tiferet for doing tech from home. We have been having a few challenging weeks with tech on Friday nights, and we were able to do something in between. So thank you, Rav T, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody at home.
Thanks,
and let's
Rav
say the
T.
bracha together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Take a piece. Shalom b'Raman. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.